So here we are finding the inverse of y equals negative 3x squared minus 6x minus 1. Well, there is no actually way to find the inverse when it is in standard form, so we do have to change this to vector form. So here we are, we have changed it to vector form by, first of all, common factoring out the negative 3 from the first two terms, and then taking the new b value, dividing by 2 and squaring it, taking this value and adding it and subtracting it within the brackets, then factoring out the negative 1 and multiplying it by that negative 3 in front. Next, we are going to factor the perfect square trinomial by taking the square root of the first, square root of the last, take the middle sign and square it, and here we are. So the reason why we need to change it to vertex form is so that we are only dealing with one x and one y here. So the whole point of finding the inverse is to interchange or just change the y to an x and the x to y, and then we're going to solve again. So let's do that. So I'm going to change this y to an x, and this x is going to become a y. Let's do that. So we've got x is equal to negative 3 bracket y plus 1 squared plus 2, and this is how we find the inverse. Now we have to solve for y. All right, so the first step we're going to do is bring this 2 over to the other side with the x, so it's going to become a negative. Jumped over the equal sign, became a negative. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to divide by negative 3 on both sides. So this whole thing will be divided by negative 3, and the negative 3's cancel out. All right, and now we have y plus 1 all squared is equal to x minus 2 all divided by negative 3. Now, in order to get rid of the square, we have to take the square root of both sides. Then this square and this square root will also cancel out. So we'll be left with y plus 1 on this side. And over here, we'll have the square root of x minus 2 all over negative 3. And then our last step is taking that 1 and bringing over. The 1 will not be underneath the square root. It will just be by itself, which is now a negative 1, will equal y. And then we can change this to look kind of the other way. So y is equal to the square root of x minus 2, all divided by negative 3, subtract 1. And that's your final answer. I also want to point out that anytime we have a square root, there is always a positive and negative in front of it. So you can have both a positive square root of x minus 2 all divided by negative 3 subtract 1, or negative square root of x minus 2 all divided by negative 3 minus 1. You've probably seen this before in the quadratic formula. Let's go ahead and look at what these will actually look like. So here is our first quadratic, negative 3x squared minus 6x minus 1. And when we graph the inverse, remembering that the inverse is always the reflection over the y equals x. So we're doing a reflection over the y equals x line. And this is what it's going to look like, both the negative and I also have the positive value here. So we have a reflection in the xy axis, so it has been flipped over the x equal or y equals x axis.